Hello, everyone. We are so excited to be here. We are here with Miss Stephanie Bwabwa. And please tell me if I am mispronouncing your name because I've never actually said it out loud.
You said it right. You said it right. Most people don't, but
Okay.
you got it right. So, hey, I'm so excited.
Awesome. I probably should have asked you that before we jumped on, but it's okay. Well, for those of you that don't know, Miss Stephanie, she is an author, a freelance writer, a copywriter, and an infopreneur. So this girl's got it going on over here, y'all. She's also the founder of the Storytelling Creative, which is a writer's platform with resources and tools for writers, authors, and storytellers alike. She's extremely passionate about storytelling and writing stories and about serving all of us guys through her stories. So we're just grateful to have her here tonight. We've had a lot of technical difficulties, but we are just grateful to be here tonight. How are you doing, girl?
I am doing great. Technical difficulties aside.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, I know a little bit about you, but for our viewers that have no clue about you at all, tell us some things you enjoy doing outside of writing.
Oh my, outside of writing. Okay, so I love being with my friends. I just love hanging out. I mean, I am a homebody. I'm not going to lie. I have no problem staying at home reading all day and then like Netflix all night. You know what I mean? No problem doing that. However, I do try to be social. So, hanging with my girls is probably the one thing that I do enjoy. I'm not the, go to the mall and like waste 5 hours of my life kind of person.
Yeah.
I believe in that. But I do just like being with my close circle and just hanging out. If not, I am nose deep in a book. Like
You are, girl, every time I see you, you are always reading something. I can't catch up with you, girl.
I'm always nose deep in a new book.
No shame. Nothing wrong with it, girl. So tell us, when did you first become interested in writing particularly?
Okay, so I have loved writing, honestly, since I was a kid. You know how in elementary school, at least in the US, I don't know how it is around the world, but in elementary school, they would have you your teachers would have you do like those writing projects. And you could write your own story, draw your own little characters. Mine were always stick figures, but they were bomb. I would draw my little characters, write out my story, turn it in, give it to my mom. It was this like A-class project, So I have loved stories since I was a kid. And then interestingly enough, I love stories since then, but I didn't start writing until middle school. And then I didn't start writing for publishing until after high school. So yeah, but I have loved writing since I was a kid. Storytelling, anything with stories could always get my attention.
Awesome. Sounds like we've got kind of similar backgrounds. I started writing at an early age too, and didn't think about publishing until much later in life. But here we are, still trucking, still keeping on. So I'm glad you were persistent with it. Now, because you've got such an extensive background, tell us, what were some of the barriers that held you back from showcasing your work?
So what most people don't know, my biggest thing that kept me back is the fact that I actually did not go to school for writing, right? Like I didn't major in creative writing in college. I didn't take a writing course, none of that. Like I'm reading reference books now and I'm getting into like style guides and all of that stuff because I do want to study the craft. I love the craft. And so now that I'm older, I'm like, okay, well, I should probably study it so I can be better. Like people need to actually enjoy what they're reading. But I didn't go to school for it. So I always had this thought in my mind, like, okay, I've not been technically trained in this, so I'm not good enough to do it. Now, granted, I am a writer of two different genres, poetry and fantasy. So the poetry for me was not that big of a deal because for me, it's birthed out of experience, right? Like those raw, intimate moments that you go through in life and you write it out and you share it. So for me, that was fine. However, I undervalued my ability because I didn't feel like I was good enough to write fantasy. Like I didn't know how to, map build correctly and world build and, writing out the plots and all of that. So for me, when it came to my fantasy novel, till this day, I keep asking the editor, I'm like, is it good? Do you like it? Like, how do you feel? Like, can you tell me? You have, because you look at this and you think, you see your sense of inadequacy and you could start to compare yourself and you're like, oh my goodness, this girl has her master's degree in writing and I'm over here like, honey, I took a pen and started writing. So that was my biggest barrier, is not being technically trained in the craft.
And to be honest, Stephanie, I think a lot of us share that story, so you're not alone. My background is in secondary education with an emphasis in French, so I'm not technically trained either. But, I'm glad that you found that within you to keep pursuing it anyway, because I think a lot of people still haven't even arrived at that point. And hopefully after seeing this interview here today, they will get that motivation and encouragement they need to press forward, because, like you said, it's easy to compare ourselves to someone else and say, oh my gosh, they have it going on. But it was a process for them, regardless of their training, So I just think you continuing to go through that process is so key to get to where you want to go eventually with your writing. So keep on going. Keep on going.
Girl.
Now, you talked about seeing some other writers who really have it going on. Name some of the writers that have helped shape your writing.
Oh my, okay, so this question, girl, had me struggling because I'm like, okay, I can't really say I have go-to writers where I'm like, okay, this person shaped my writing, this person shaped my writing. However, I do know the writers that turned me into readers, and from being a reader, I wanted to become a storyteller just like them. When I was a kid, so funny enough, I did not like reading. I hated it. I couldn't. And my mother was like, you are going to read. You have no option in this. Well, Mom, I hate books. And I hated books, absolutely hated books. House was war, I'm telling you. And and she started buying books by Roald Dahl. And then she also bought me Lemony Snicket books. And then she would buy me, Captain Underpants. And these different stories, like Junie B. Jones and all of that. But it's really the Roald Dahl books that got me reading. And then when I started reading A Series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket, I fell in love with stories. Granted, very depressing, my friends. I don't think I would really encourage other people to go read them. They're pretty depressing books for a child to read. However, they were great. They were great. And from there, I fell in love with storytelling. And I guess that kind of began to shape what genre of books I would like, because then, for the rest of elementary school and going into middle school, I just fell in love with fantasy and YA books. And I always had one. I was that child where it was 3:00 in the morning and Mom thought you were asleep, but you're under the bed with the lights on. And you're reading under the covers, and you wake up in 3 hours to go to school. You're like, I was that kid, right? I was the bookworm. I was the one in class who had her book in her textbook, so she would she would work, but she wasn't. That was those two different writers, I guess you could say, did shape how I would go about choosing a genre that I would fall in love with. So definitely those two, Roald Dahl and Lemony Snicket.
Well, that's awesome. Sometimes, I think it is like that with some people. They may not think they like reading, but they find that one series or that one book that just changes everything. And that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And I'm with you on that reader under the covers. Man, I cannot tell you how many times I got in trouble for reading with my flashlight.
back in the day when like you did use your flashlight because we did not have, you know, like cell phone light to just like stick on from our phone. It was an actual nightlight.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome though. That's great. What now I know you love reading, but what well, I guess you kind of talked a little bit about it, but tell us a little bit more. You said you really enjoy fantasy. Would you say that's the writing, the kind of writing you enjoy the most, or is it still neck and neck with poetry?
You know, that's a good question. Before I started writing both seriously, I was just diehard fantasy and fiction. Love it, love it, love it. Like I was the kid. I read all the Twilight books, you know, individually in a day. I mean, like, you know, I love them. I do. But I find that now I'm starting to like poetry a lot. And also not just like poetry, but like essays, memoirs, and I'm finding that certain nonfiction books I'm getting into as well. Now, not all, my friends. So it can be hard for this girl to digest some nonfiction, okay? Like it takes 5 weeks, whereas another book can take 5 hours, okay? But I do find that I am starting to enjoy some nonfiction as well. So even though fantasy and fiction is still like that top, you know, I can devour them in hours. However, I have been stretching my reading for the past little while because it is good to read outside of your genre as well. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I do find not just the poetry, but memoirs. I'm finding that I like memoirs a lot these days. Yeah.
I like that too. And I think it's funny because as a child, I was more like you. I read more of the fiction. That was my jam. The Count of Monte Cristo is still like my favorite book of all time. I could read it if I'd never read it before and still like be sitting on the edge of my seat anticipating what's going to happen next. But I don't know. I guess I've changed over the course of the years, but I don't know. You're kind of making me feel like I need to jump back in a little bit and explore a little bit. See what else is out there. And I like that because, as you said, I think it is really important to get outside of our genre because I think we can get kind of comfortable in what we know and what we like best. So I think there is something to say for getting outside of our comfort zone. So I'm definitely going to keep that in mind.
Oh, yeah.
Now, where do you see yourself going in the next 5 years in terms of your writing?
In terms of my writing. Okay, so I'm that person that wants to be like Nicholas Sparks, who writes like 1 trillion books and then like turns all trillion into movies. So that's my goal, girl. I'm nice. Big screen in hands and on your television. So that's where I want to go. I do. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love copywriting. I love freelance writing, and it consists with a lot of blogging. But as much as I love all of that, I just love writing stories. Like that's where, if you know, it's funny that like Angela, author friend Angela, you guys will be hearing from her too. She's amazing. We were speaking and we were talking about just like our ideal lifestyle. I was like, girl, if I could just write all day and read all day and drink coffee and travel, I'd be good. I'd be set. Like that's all I need in life. And she was like, me too. Write all day, read all day, coffee, travel. That's it. So I feel like that's what I'm pushing towards, literally in 5 years from now, to just solely be writing books, like just putting them out there back to back. And, eventually down the line, let them pick up some momentum and then start putting them out. So they can be on the big screen as well. That's my 5-year goal.
Okay, that's awesome. I find that to be really, really fantastic because a lot of times as writers, I don't think we even consider the possibility of having our books be on screen one day. That's not something a lot of people think about. But I love that because you'd be reaching even more people with your work and able to touch more lives. And that's what I love. It's not just keeping the words to ourselves, but being able to use it to help other people. So I think that's a really, really great way to do that. That's great.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, there are some writers still out there who haven't given themselves permission to be authentic in their brand, in their writing, because they're still thinking they've got to follow what this person's doing and that person's doing. So what advice would you give to those writers who are still struggling with that?
My biggest thing, honestly, it's a Bible verse. You know, don't compare yourself among yourself. Mm-hmm. That's my biggest thing, because that was my biggest issue. Mm-hmm. And it literally held me back. It held me back from thinking, you know, I can have a website out there and put my work out there and start to get it out there and make connections with other authors and, you know, actually write my story. It's not till recently that I was like, hey, Stephanie, you know, your work is actually good. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not going to call myself the best writer. However, it is good. It is going to touch a life. For me, my writing is very faith-based because my faith is my lifeline. Like, that's just my lifestyle. And so I don't separate my faith in Christ from my writing. It's just the two are one. And so when I write, I have an underlying message of, okay, yeah, I'm telling a story, but at the end of the day, I want someone's life to be changed by this, because you know, I target specific issues when I write. So when you start comparing yourself, especially whether you're a newbie writer or not, honestly, this is an issue that all writers, no matter where you are on the totem pole, deal with. I think that comparison thing is what holds a lot of writers back, because they're like, I'm not good enough. I haven't been writing long enough. I don't have enough books out there, or, you know, I'm not qualified to write in a certain genre, or, you know, whatever it is that we tell ourselves, and maybe someone else did tell us, but who cares? You know, just because someone else says it doesn't mean that, you know, they have the say so. It's not their jurisdiction, honestly. My thing is, if you have a story inside of you, whether you feel qualified or not, either way, that story has to come out.
Right.
That story is there to help someone else. Someone else out there is going through something, and when they read your work, it will help them deal with that certain situation that they're going through, whether it's, you know, a story for leisure or not. So I think, to me, the biggest thing that writers need to conquer is this low self-esteem and this lack of confidence of, I'm not good as author, fill in the blank. Right. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether there will always be someone that writes better than you. There will always be someone that is better at grammar than you. There will always be someone that can tell a story better than you. At the end of the day, that doesn't matter. What matters is you have to share your story, because you have a story to tell as well. Mm-hmm. So that is my biggest thing for writers. Do not undervalue your abilities and your skills just because you think you're not good enough as so-and-so.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a word. That is a word. And I just love that, because you described me and, you know, the beginning of my journey. For a long time, I wouldn't even talk about the book that I self-published last year, because, you know, at first I was so excited about it. And then after a while, I was kind of like, man, but I'm looking and this person's writing is way better than mine. And, you know, just all those things, those negative things you tell yourself. And that held me back too. So, you know, I totally agree with that. We've got to get to a place where we stop, you know, looking for the negative, you know, and just remember that it's never going to be quote unquote perfect. Even the ones that are the greats, you know, they even have things they wish they could do better. But like you said, just get it out there. You know, someone is waiting to hear that story. So just get it out there and don't worry about all that other stuff. So I love that. Love that. Now, I know you've been working on your book and you alluded to it a little bit. Tell us a little more about this book and when we can get our hands on it.
Okay, girls. So there's 2 coming out. Whew, double the trouble. So I have 2 books coming out in 2 different genres. I have a poetry book. Okay, so funny thing is they're both series. Why I did it to myself, I do not know. Honey, I don't know. However, they're both going to be series. I have a book called Her, and that is the first of the poetry collection. It's basically about, I call her a wanderer, and she goes through these different trials of like these valleys, you know, some very low peaks. And through it all, she's having to keep her faith in Christ, right? So she's going through just struggle after struggle after struggle. But at the end of the day, she realizes, okay, even though it's very, very difficult right now, I'm not going through all of this alone.
Right.
You know, and it's in the way encouraging the reader as well. I don't know what you're going through, but you can still get through it. So that's what Her is about. It's very, very personal to me, close to my heart. But that's the poetry. And then that will be coming out. So that will be ready for publish by the end of May. And it'll be hitting, you know, Amazon and all these places in early June.
Awesome.
I'll be sharing my website later, and then like dates will be coming up, but you know, you can expect that one in early June. And then my fantasy novel, The Awakening, that is the first of a series. I am so excited. Let me tell you, that book took 4 years, y'all. Let me just get my heart out, okay? 4 years in the making for this fantasy novel, but I'm so excited. It's about a teenage girl. She goes through stuff. She's raised in a Christian home. She goes through just, you know, back to back struggles and some stuff. I don't know why I made her go through all of that, but I did. And she starts losing her faith in Christ, right? So when she gets to the peak of just being completely faithless, completely godless, like I'm sick of it, I'm just doing whatever I want, she gets taken on this encounter to paradise. You know, like Chronicles of Narnia style. They go through the wardrobe and they're in Narnia. She gets taken to this encounter at the paradise. So she goes from earth to heaven, right? And so she's experiencing all these different encounters while she's there. And she's having to decide, okay, is the temporary pain I'm going through worth me turning my back on eternity and losing my soul? Or will I choose to just endure it and end up, you know, in a better place for eternity, right? And so it's that juggle of, you know, the temporary for eternity. You know, what do I want to do? It's really hard. Can I face it? She goes through it alone. And then, of course, you know, it's fantasy. So obviously I have like talking animals in there. It's great. You know, like all these different creatures and stuff like that. I honestly let my imagination go wild, and it is awesome. That will be coming out at the end of July.
Okay.
So we're looking at like July, I believe we're looking at like July 24th, around there. So that is The Awakening, and which literally that's all it is this girl going through a whole lot of stuff and having to be awakened from it. Her faith is being awakened. So that will be coming out at the end of July.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm excited. I like that. I love how you fuse your faith and your writing. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen in our industry the separation, because a lot of us feel like, well, I may lose my following if I blend. I may, you know what I mean? Like, I've seen this. I've seen where there is that clear separation, and it's something I went through as well. It wasn't because I felt like I was going to lose followers. My reason was because I didn't really want to get labeled as a faith blogger, because I didn't really feel like I fit the mold. Like, I wasn't really trying to be preachy and just, you know, talk about Bible verses. And anybody that's a faith blogger that's listening, please do not take offense. But that was just my understanding of a faith blogger, and I just didn't feel that way. You know, I wanted to be more like how your poetry is, share more of the personal side and the struggles that we go through, but to fuse that in a manner where other people can really understand it and make it applicable to their lives. So I applaud you for that. And I think there needs to be more of us.
No, for real. If you are watching this and you are like us, I need you to come out. I need you to come out and join the tribe.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Nothing wrong with it. So I am super excited. You got so much amazing things going on. You got 2 books coming out, girl. Oh my gosh. Like, that is awesome. And we will definitely be keeping in contact with you, but we first need to know how. Tell us how we can keep in contact with you.
Okay, my website is my first and last name, StephanieBwabwa.com. Kept it simple for y'all. StephanieBwabwa.com. Social media handles, Twitter and Instagram at Stephanie Bwabwa. And then Facebook is /official Stephanie Bwabwa. So like Maddie James says, if it's easy to find me, it's easy to pay me. Right. So I made it easy. Stephanie Bwabwa, and Pinterest too, Stephanie Bwabwa, and then Facebook is /official Stephanie Bwabwa.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we have thoroughly enjoyed ourselves listening to your wisdom, taking a look at what you got going on. So everybody, make sure you connect, follow her everywhere so you can keep in contact, know when her books are coming out, so you can go ahead and support our writers. That's what we do. And we will definitely be on the lookout. I'm ready. I'm excited. Well, thanks again for joining us, and I hope you have a great night, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.